Welcome back. You want me to continue the tale, I suppose? Where was I? Oh, that's right. So Gorgi Barkskin, the Sturgian warrior, he just won a tournament at Sturgia after a long season of training. He was rewarded with some southern armor. Bah! It was brass scale shoulder pads, fancy peacock feather for a lord. Something which was a far stretch to his liking. Even Karina passed on them, so they would be sold and melted down for all he cared. Gorgi's warband, ever growing in size and experience, and dare I say reputation. 29 fighting fit, 1 wounded, enough supplies and wages for a month. The ranks were filled with Imperial infantry, some of whom had been with him from the start. There was battalion volunteers, sea raiders, watchmen, mercenaries, and most importantly, Sturgian-born warriors. Many joined as fresh green recruits. A few small skirmishes later, and they're well on their way to being proper soldiers. They all joined for coin, of course, but they stayed for a greater purpose. The chance to be better men in this time of uncertainty, in this time of war. Because 8 caravans traded with Sturgia. Gorgi had a history with the Cassate, and would need to keep out the way to avoid a diplomatic incident. No doubt a caravan would be an ideal target for Gorgi, but his growing band was becoming slower and struggled to catch the smaller parties of bandits. This didn't stop him from tracking them down though. Trade at the market, back to the town centre, wait some time, buy supplies, sell. Smelt, go to the market, leave the market, go to a village, go to a foreign village, get drunk, get in a fight. Head over to Glafstrop, Kavol, Sabir, Tayal. Gorgi knew what he was doing. It would cost him a great deal of his own time, money, and patience. He needed to build himself up to prove to the lords of Sturgia that he could fight alongside them, and to gain the glory that was due to the Sturgian people. The gods demanded it, after all. Gorgi had 3 goals: to defeat the Imperial mercenaries of the south, known as the Embers of the Flame. He'd also need to find his old warband who turned their back on him and left him for dead. And finally, appease the gods' thirst for blood, bringing glory to the Sturgian people. But he couldn't exact his revenge yet. He needed men, warriors. He needed to give each man a sword, shield, spear, and scale armor. All of this would cost him a lot. He would also need a reputation he could use to forge the example of a true Sturgian, one who would win battles for the future prosperity of the North. Gorgi was at Sabir selling produce and confiscated loot. This is when he acquired himself a rough bearskin mantle. He wore it to give himself more of a look of authority. It would do him good. This is when he received a letter from a Sturgian lord. Gorgi Barkskin, your name keeps coming to my ears for the good reasons. Valandia, south of Sargot, the village Yusanka, attack it. Signed Yarig of Sturgia. It was finally time for action. Sargot was in the most southern parts of the Valandian lands. Gorgi had to make his way immediately. He went through the mountain passes, and then past the outer castles to Valandian territory. Here, the nearby villages were being raided by Northmen. Bands of men rode all over. It was hard to tell what was going on. Other letters must have been sent out. War had come to Valandia, and Gorgi was right in the middle. If others received the letter, then that means Gorgi was making a name for himself. He was considered strong enough to be counted on by the Sturgian people. His name must be on the lips of the lords of the north, and he would prove himself. Gorgi stopped off in Sargot. This could be the last time he visited this city, as after he raided a Valandian village, he would be unwelcome in these lands. He wasn't sure what the plan was for the Northmen, but he would do his part and raid the village as requested. But little did he know for the events that were about to unfold. Usanka. This is the kind of village to an empire which provides food, taxes and men. Invaluable, an ideal target for Gorgi's warband. The battle was over. No problem for Gorgi and his men. They had their victory, and they would raid the village for any plunder they could find. Next, they would go find Yorick and tell him they have completed their task. On the way back north, he saw some Britannians sieging a castle of the Empire. And then he heard Sargot was under siege, but this time from the north. Gorgi made his way there as soon as he could. But the siege had been finished. The north were victorious, and the area was crawling with Valandian armies. He met with Yorick the Lord who sent him the letter, finally, and Gorgi quickly introduced himself. Yorick is a name Gorgi had heard many times. He was Lord of Varnavapul. He confirmed to Gorgi what he wanted to hear. He had heard of Gorgi's name, a name that strikes fear into the men's hearts, and the best reputation to have. Yorick left instructions for Gorgi's warband. They would stay around Sargot, and when night came, they would head north into the woods, and by morning return again, because there was going to be a battle. Sargot was almost depleted of produce. All of it had been brought up as sold, or shipped out of the city. The recent siege would be the cause of that. But another battle? Gorgi could do nothing but wait. He went to the tavern with his men, but they didn't drink too much. There really was going to be a battle, and they wanted to prove themselves. They had to be on point, like the edge of a sharp blade, ready to cut. They waited until nightfall, and as Yorad commanded, they then head off into the woods to the north, waiting for morning. Winter 1, 1085. The Battle of Sargot. The Valandian armies were accounted for and present, getting ready to siege Sargot. But what they did not know was that Sargot was empty. The northern armies were lying in wait in the nearby hills and forests. The battle would happen outside the castle, and not in. The Valandians must have been so confident that they could retake their own castle, especially after it had just been sieged. It was damaged and vulnerable. But the Northmen were wiser than that. They waited for the Valandians to start building their ladders, and when they were ready, they attacked from behind. Gorgi met Yorick one last time before the fight. He was instructed to hold the left side of the battle line. Without hesitation, Gorgi put his fist to his chest and saluted. For Sturgia! The northern armies exited the forests and started to form up. The cavalry on the left flank was already engaged. This would be a large battle. Gorgi hadn't seen a large battle in some time, some years, and this was the first time he had men under his command. When all was ready, Yorick gave the command, attack! It doesn't normally snow this far south in Valandian territory, so the Sturgians had the advantage. Snow and the surprise. The Sturgian lord, Savannah, wished Gorgi good luck at the start of the battle, promises and jokes about who would buy the first ale. Everyone was in high spirits. The North cavalry was engaged on the left flank. It was important that they occupied the Valandian cavalry. They were renowned and well equipped. They were doing their job, although the fight was not going in their favour, as long as it kept them off the flanks. The Sturgians were formed up, 10 men deep, and the Valandians had a longer line, about 6 or 7 men deep. The volleys of arrows began. The plan was to pepper and lure the Valandian army closer to the Sturgians. A line battle was where the Sturgians excelled, and this is where they would win. Gorgi's job was to hold the left flank and wait until the main Sturgian body had pushed through the centre. The Valandian line was long, much longer, and many more men faced Gorgi's Warband, but all he had to do was hold until the center pushed. Gorgi couldn't let the Valandians wrap around the center. If they did, the battle would be over. More reinforcements came and joined the left side. It gave Gorgi hope. When ready, his men went in for the kill. The first wave had been pushed back. It wasn't victory, but it was something. Gorgi and the rest of the army, they waited. Something wasn't right though. The second wave, it wasn't coming. Instead, drips and drabs of Valandians. They seemed to be fleeing. Clearly got the wrong direction. Something was happening over that hill. There was some sort of confusion for the Valandians, and it was working in the favor of the Sturgians. The men held the resolve, and soon they would push over the hill and finish off any leftovers there was. The battle was won, but at what cost? And this was the beginning. Maybe Gorgi didn't want the end. But someone had to do the fighting. Good day, glory to the Empire, friends. Ben Only here. Thank you again for watching another one. Is it the fourth installment of my Bannerlord tale of Gorgi Barkskin? I really appreciate you guys watching. There's not many of you, but you know, I really enjoy making it, and I get a couple of comments and messages, and it makes it all worthwhile, so I really appreciate that. Please leave me some feedback. I'm always asking. I want to get better. You know, these are games I love. I like editing them. It's really fun. And so, you know, any ideas, let me know, and let's make some great stuff on YouTube, shall we? Anyway, all the best, guys. Look after yourselves, and yeah, once again, glory to the Empire. That's my sign off. My thing. That's my thing.